A pregnant pause. Okay. So, need to apologise my timekeeping, so we're going to have a slightly shorter talk, longer debate, shorter talk. So I don't know which is better. Okay. So and some of the questions that were being thrown around in the debate relate to something I haven't spoken about yet, part of the Chittamatra view. So particularly, when we were discussing, could this all be a dream? And it seems like because our experience has a certain sort of structure, coherence to it, that we identify things, continuity of things, like the orange exists when I don't perceive it. And that has to do with causality. Okay, so people talked about, well, the orange can grow into a tree, it can do this, it can function. So this sort of principle of causality, which is extremely important, isn't it, in the physical world, is one big reason why we tend to assume that the physical world exists independently of the mind, externally, because it has that coherent structure, and the law of causality is a very important part of that. So it doesn't seem plausible that we have such a kind of coherent and continuity of experience as we have just through the activity of our mind. When we have a dream, it's much more, it doesn't have that kind of coherent structure to it, does it? It can be very random and, fragmented and so on. So the answer to that is given by the Chittamatrans, that there is, they have a unique sort of theory of the mind. So in the other schools, they say there are 6 types of consciousness, which is the eye, ear, nose, taste, touch, and mental consciousness. Okay. The Chittamatrans have 2 more types of consciousness. One is called, usually translated, the mind basis of all. The Sanskrit word is alaya vijnana. Vijnana means consciousness, and alaya means a store place. So it's a store consciousness, and it's also the basis of all. What does that mean? What they say is, this is how karma works, according to the Yogacara. When we do an action, when we kind of interact with the world, based on a particular sort of mental attitude or emotion, whatever, this places a karmic seed on our mind stream, right? According to them, this mind basis of all, the alaya vijnana, is where those karmic seeds are stored. And everything that we experience comes from the ripening of those karmic seeds. Yeah? So just give an example. There's a verse in the Shantideva's Guide to the Bodhisattva's Way of Life, where he says, he's talking about the hell realms. The verse says, who intentionally created all the weapons for those in hell? the point being, what he's saying is that the hells, they're sometimes called the mind-created hells. If we experience that, if we kind of, you know, act in a very extremely negative way, killing lots of people and so on, this creates the karmic potential to be born in a state of extreme suffering in a hell realm. That hell realm is said to be created by mind. That experience of suffering purely comes from having acted from a negative mind, right? And in the same way, the existence in the blissful realm of the Deva heavens is also the cause of that is the mental cause. So what the Yogacaras say is that everything we experience is just these karmic seeds are stored in the mind basis of all consciousness, in this alaya consciousness, and when those ripen, we have a certain experience. So everything we're experiencing now is just the ripening of karmic seeds within this very deep level of the mind. It's not the ordinary consciousness that we're aware of. It's a special, it's kind of like, it's similar to, in some ways, it's been compared to the unconscious in Freudian or Jungian psychology. Particularly, I think it's closer to the Jungian concept of the unconscious mind, the subconscious. And Jung actually says that there are different layers of unconscious. You know, there is an individual unconscious, but there's also a collective unconscious. And in a way, that maybe relates to this, because the reason why we're all having a similar experience at the moment, we're not having the same experience, right? You are all experiencing this room a bit differently from me, but it's quite similar. And this is said to be because we have had shared experiences in the past. We have shared karma, we have collective karma, we have been together as a group before, in some way, you know, in a previous existence. So that potential for us to be together and experience this room in the way that we're experiencing it now is due to that past karma. It's ripening. So this connects also with the example that was talked about a bit, which is talked about a lot by the Yogacara philosophers, that if there's a glass of water on the table here, so as a human being, I see a glass of water. But if there was a being from the high Deva realm there, they would see the same thing as celestial nectar. And if there was a being from the Preta realm, the hungry ghost realm, they would see pus and blood. They would see something disgusting because of their karma. So because of the karmic predisposition of the mind, we see things differently. We experience things in a different way. And so this is a bit what I was talking about. I was debating with Chrissy about this earlier, you know. Do we all see things in the same way? No, we don't, in my opinion. Yeah.
You think about the extreme of somebody that's on the bad drugs trip.
Yeah.
Like acid or something
Yeah.
like that, and it goes wrong. They're in hell mentally, and they believe it's absolutely real.
Yes. It is real to them, isn't it? Yeah.
To the point where some people even kill themselves over it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So,
Yes. And they can also have exactly the opposite. They can have incredibly blissful experience. Yeah.
This is why I struggle with understanding a valid cognition when we talk about conventional phenomena.
Uh-huh.
I mean, they're all valid in my opinion,
Yes.
in some way.
There's a Yogacara say, you can't say that the human who perceives as water is a valid cognition and the Deva and the Preta are wrong. But what's the basis to say that? They're all equal. There's no way of, you know, what is the criterion to say one is valid and the other is not valid? So therefore, you know, they argue, although we tend to imagine that the way the things in front of me are, they are that way from their own side, quite independently of my mind, the way that I'm seeing them. We can really, you know, there's lots of ways you can attack that. So we talked about, you know, like that orange color. To me, that seems as though that's real. It's part of the orange. But different beings, other kinds of animals, would see quite different things. see different colors. And you can, you can pursue that till it becomes obvious that, although you might still want to say, well, there's something out there, the way it appears, its characteristics are definitely not from its own side. They are projected onto it by the mind that sees it. So a different kind of mind will see a different characteristic of the same object. So when you pursue that, you have to then question, well, if there's nothing that I can find that would have to appear the same to every different mind, then there's nothing there that isn't dependent on the mind. There's nothing there other than the mind perceiving it in a certain way. But the fact that we have an experience with this kind of coherent structure that makes us think it's objective and so on, this is because of the way that the causality operates on the deep level of the mind, and the fact that we are having experiences that are correlated is because we have similar karma. We have,
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
So you said mind basis of all, all consciousness. So do you mean for all of us collectively, or for all of our past lives? Does that make sense?
It means it's the basis of all of our experience. Yeah, everything arises from that basic mind. That's what they're saying. Everything is a manifestation of mind. Yeah?
Yeah, can I ask you another question? I don't know if you know all about this, or anyone else. I don't know. Is this, has anyone heard of Akashic Records or whatever?
Yeah, I've heard of it.
Thing, or, is this what
I think that there is a bit of a connection there. Yeah, the Akasha, I think that's from a different non-Buddhist, Indian classical philosophy. The Akasha is this kind of undifferentiated basic substance that is like, I think it's considered to be neither consciousness nor matter. It's like a form of energy, and it's the basis of both. I think there is not. It is connected to that. It's similar to that. Yeah, in that sort of that energy, sort of which pervades everything. This sort of information is stored, or the kind of imprints.
I don't know much about it, but I know someone said, "Oh, do you know about it?"
I don't know much about it anyway either. Does anybody else? Anybody knows about this?
It kind of sounds like that kind of.
It is similar, I think, Mel. Yeah, similar idea.
I think Mel was also asking if the alaya vijnana is individual, every person as one.
Yeah.
Or
is it like we're all?
Is it general?
I think
it's a good question.
I think what I've heard from other teachers is every person is one, as individual.
I would be prepared to bet there's some debate around that, but yeah, I think generally yes. I mean, there was a bit of discussion before about this difficult question. How do the Yogacara deal with the other people's minds? It's easy enough. The physical objects, oh well, that's just appearance to mind. But is your mind just an appearance to my mind, or do you have your own subjective experience? Is that separate from me? I have to say, I haven't found much about this in the things that I've read about Yogacara philosophy. If anybody else knows about it, it's clearly a challenging question for them, isn't it? Whether your mind exists independently of my mind, or is your mind just an appearance to my mind? All right? How would you answer that if you're a Yogacara?
I mean, maybe I would say what I said yesterday about yogis who can directly perceive other people's mind. So I think you would have the theory of the 4 bodies in Yogacara as well, right? The 4 bodies of the Buddha.
Yes.
So okay. maybe they could argue that from our point of view, our commercial point of view as sentient beings, there are individual streams of consciousness,
Yeah.
and each of these appears to ourselves individually.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
It's like idealism, like maybe some form of intersubjective idealism. You see what I mean? So there are
Yeah.
more than one mind
Yes.
from their subjective point of view.
Mm-hmm.
Also from the point of view of a Buddha,
Mm-hmm.
the mind of the Buddha nature of a sentient being is not would not be separate from the Buddha nature of a fully realized Buddha anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So even these minds are not completely separate anyway.
Yeah.
In some sense.
So does it mean conventionally there is, but also
Conventionally, you would, there are many minds, one for each sentient being. Ultimately, they're not different. I'm trying. Just.
Yeah. That seems very reasonable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would tend to accept that.
But
Yeah.
not different. Are you saying they're the same? They have the same inherent emptiness,
Yep.
or are you saying are you going beyond that to some sort of a Brahma type thing where we all merge into? No. Okay.
But
Well, at the ultimate level, there are not. Yeah, there are not many consciousnesses, or not many sentient beings. There are not many anything. At the ultimate level, there's only emptiness.
Okay. When a Buddha achieves enlightenment, his mind doesn't merge with the minds of previous Buddhas. Though,
Are you sure?
I'll tell you when I get there. Or you can tell me first.
what does it mean to merge with another mind?
I think you still have the. I think that
If
that
the
mind
mind of-
stream continues. It doesn't sort of. I think it's still a separate mind stream rather than still purified mind stream, and obviously the Dharmakaya, etc. Comes from the Buddha's mind stream. But I don't think it's just necessarily.
Are there many Dharmakayas, or is it just one Dharmakaya?
Depends what you mean. I think there's a good quote from Dalai Lama about this, but I'll have to show you the article. He seems to think that it'd be a great mistake to assume that there is just one that we merge into. But I'll show you the article later.
I know the Dalai Lama said things like that. I mean, that the question is whether there are, the Buddhas have separate individual mental continuum. When one attains enlightenment, do you continue to have a mental continuum that is separate from other enlightened beings, or is there really just one? And the Dalai Lama said on quite a number of occasions that they are separate. But his view is not. It's not unanimous view of all the high lamas.
Yeah. Did he say they're not separate, or did he say that they're not the same? Might be different.
Yes, because it's been described to me as like raindrops into the sea. In that sense, So,
Yeah. Well, that would that view would suggest that there are not separate mental continua of enlightened beings. And the Dalai Lama has several times he said, yes, there are. But just because the Dalai Lama says it, we don't necessarily have to accept. I mean, it is debated. It is debated. There are different views, different highly, sort of realized lamas have the views on both sides of that question.
I think the question that. All right.
Sorry, go ahead. Fiona. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. Just with that, it could be just that it just changes nature, but not necessarily kind of. It becomes part of something bigger. The mind, if it kind of like becomes enlightened, but It just changes, but it doesn't necessarily mean it goes out of existence as such.
Well, it clearly doesn't. No, the raindrop doesn't go out of existence when it drops into the sea, but it's no longer a separate raindrop, is it? It hasn't gone out of existence.
No.
But as I say, you know,
molecules are still there, I guess.
Yeah.
That's the
but no, the Dalai Lama has, I think, pretty clearly on a number of occasions, his view is that you know, there are different, separate mental continua of different Buddhas. But I've heard, you know, very highly qualified people say the opposite. So it's a debate point. We don't have to, you know, there isn't necessarily a you know, a party line. We can discuss it. It's an open question. But I mean, I've heard Alan Wallace put it in an interesting way once. That it's many years ago actually. But he said, you know, when you become a Buddha, your mind is totally coextensive with reality.
What does it mean, coextensive?
Coextensive means your mind pervades the whole of reality. Your mind is existing through, you know, everything. And mind is, if two things are coextensive, I mean, in mathematics they're identical, aren't they? Well, how would you use that term? Coextensive.
Occupying the same space, isn't it, really?
Yeah, occupying the same space. Normally it means that they're identical. You know, it depends. It could be. Occupying the same space is quite good. Yeah, definition, I think. It depends from which point of view you're looking. I mean, things existing separately from one another. I would say this is an aspect of conventional reality. It's, you know, that's a dualistic experience. In the ultimate view, in the view of direct realization of emptiness, there's no duality between anything. You know, the mind is just one with the emptiness. The really, you know, the really kind of deep question is how is it possible to have that view at the same time as the conventional view, which is unique. Only Buddhas have that.
The Arhat doesn't have it.
No. Arhat, so they either they're in meditation when they only see emptiness, or they're out of meditation, they don't see the emptiness directly anymore. They just see the conventional truth.
So they suffer.
Well, there's debate around that. Depends how you define suffering.
Not wanting something.
It's not that it's not that they have they're wanting something. No, they don't. They're when they're out of meditation, they're not unhappy. But when they're said to have a nirvana with remainder, which means the aggregates. From the Hinayana point of view, the remainder is the aggregates. They still have a physical body. They still have, you know, feelings, perceptions, and mental and compositional factors, mental formations, whatever you call them. They still have those other four aggregates. When the body passes away, the other three aggregates pass away, and there's just consciousness. I think even the Hinayana schools, they would say there isn't even that, actually. You can't say that there's. They can't even say that there's consciousness. It's kind of impossible to talk about that state of what they call nirvana without remainder. Mahayana view is a little bit different. So they say, because the Hinayana schools say because of the very fact that those aggregates are impermanent, that means there's necessarily suffering. The Mahayana, they don't accept that. They say, you know, the Buddha does have aggregates, but it doesn't experience any suffering. So, yeah, there's the impermanence, and in the Hinayana philosophy, they say if something is impermanent, then it's necessarily dukkha, suffering. But the Mahayanas say there's no reason to accept that. Just because the Buddha's body and his feelings and perceptions, because of all of those, are impermanent, doesn't mean that he's suffering. I think we've kind of floated off somewhere. I mean, we do get into this territory quite often with these kind of topics, and you know, some of these topics, I think there's a really deep problem in using language to talk about that level of experience which is beyond conceptual understanding. It's beyond language. Language can never fully explain what nirvana is like. We can't pin it down in that way. But I know that's not very satisfactory, and we'll kind of come back to this next time, and a lot on the 5th module, and hopefully I'll be able to try and find a way to convey it better. It is difficult. It's paradoxical. You know, its ultimate truth is, it's paradoxical because I mean, all the Buddhist schools agree it can't be captured by conceptual thought fully. It can't be fully explained in language. But we'll do our best, nevertheless. So just one more topic that I probably should have explained before, but which is to do with how the Yogacara, how they explain conventional truth and ultimate truth. And they have their own special explanation of that in terms of what's called the 3 natures. So Tashi calls them dependent nature, the imputed nature, and the perfect nature. There also is another, perhaps more common translation. The first one is often translated as other-powered nature. Dependent or other-powered is the first one. Imputed or imputational nature is the second one. And the perfect nature, or the thoroughly established nature, is a more common translation, is the third one. Okay.
What's the last one again? Sorry.
Perfect nature or thoroughly established nature. So, I think the first one, there's a bit of a connection with the Sautrantikas, but they say that impermanent phenomena are, you know, they arise in dependence on causes, and they are real, but they're conventional truths. The same here. Yeah, exactly the same actually. So this is the dependent nature, or the other-powered nature. The orange that I see is produced by by something else. It has a cause for it to arise, and that's why it can function. That's why it's an effective thing. So therefore it does truly exist. Yeah. Just check what Geshe-Tashi says here. Yeah, he says that. It's truly existent. Okay, it's real. Because it functions. Okay. But where the Sautrantika would say the cause is something external, the Chittamatrans would say the cause is in the mind basis of all. It's the karmic seed that ripens to produce that appearance to the mind. So it's powered by something else. It's produced by a cause, a previous cause. That's the other powered nature, and that is the nature that things have as functioning things. So in a lot of these schools of thought, especially in the Sautrantika, but also in the Chittamatra, something is real, truly existent, if it's able to perform a function. Right? I mean, that seems reasonable. If it can do something, it must exist. Right? Then the imputed nature, we impute onto that it exists external to the mind. And that is...
But this is the conventional truth. The independent, imputed and perfect nature.
Yeah, we had a little bit of a thorny one about this, didn't we, Tim? There's it's a little bit confusing. So yeah, those are both conventional truth. Dependent nature and the imputed nature are both conventional truth. Okay, the third one is the ultimate truth.
Okay, thank you.
However, there's a complication because for an impermanent phenomenon like the orange, you know, I impute to it that it is existing external to my mind, separate from my mind. That is not true. So that imputed nature doesn't exist. It's a non-existent imputed nature. But there are others which they say do exist. This is a bit strange, actually. Because the ones that do exist are things like space and emptiness, I think. I'll just check on that.
That's right.
Two types of cessation.
Okay. Yes, the two types of cessation. Yeah, so the two types of cessation are the temporary and the permanent cessation. Permanent cessation is nirvana. Temporary cessation is just a state of meditative concentration where the causes of suffering, the afflicted mind, the afflictive emotions, are temporarily ceased. So we don't, in that state, we don't, for that time that meditational concentration continues, we don't experience any suffering. Where the causes of suffering are not there, the afflictive emotions are, they're kind of dormant, they're not manifesting, they're not operating. So we don't experience suffering. But then when we're distracted from that concentration, they come back again. The permanent cessation, I think it's called analytical. Oh, the first one is called the analytical cessation, isn't it? Anybody remember? And what's the second one? Somewhere in here. Anyway, there are those two types of cessation. And space, the absence of obstructing contact. So those are not impermanent phenomena because they are negative phenomena. They're just an absence of something. So an absence of something doesn't change from moment to moment, right? Yeah? The fact that there's no elephant in this room isn't changing from moment to moment. Unless an elephant comes in. But, you know, while we're here and there's no elephant, you know, that if there was an elephant in the room, the elephant would be changing moment by moment, right? But if there's no elephant, the absence of elephant isn't changing moment to moment. Okay, so that's called a permanent phenomenon. Doesn't mean it exists forever, because an elephant might walk in and then it wouldn't exist anymore. But it means it's not momentary, it's not changing moment to moment. So those permanent phenomena are imputed, yeah, they have imputed nature, and they, according to Chittamatra, they exist. But the imputed nature of the orange, which is that it is separate from the mind, that doesn't exist. I think it's a bit strange, but there we are.
Page 49 of this has a very good diagram of it.
Okay. Yeah, okay. Right. Yeah, so there are yeah, I mean, I struggle with it, I have to be honest, because they do say that all phenomena have the three natures.
Yeah.
So what about the permanent phenomena? Do they have a other powered nature as well?
The mind is perceiving it.
The mind is perceiving it, but that's not why it's other powered, I don't think. It's other powered because it has it's produced by a cause, but uncompounded space is not produced by a cause, is it? So I'm not sure about it.
One of the imputation nature is a mistake. So the imputated nature of that orange is a mistake, which wouldn't appear to an enlightened being.
Well, that's true.
So it's sort of from an enlightened point of view, an enlightened being, it presumably would only have two natures.
Yeah, that would also seem to be a problem for them. Yeah, I think they have a few problems. I mean, I don't want to get too hung up on these sort of this kind of point, because it just seems to me that's more a problem with how they formulate their position than a problem with what they're saying. What they're essentially saying is that the things that we see, the things that function, you know, they do exist, they are real, but they are not separate and independent from the mind. They are produced by the process of karma coming from the mind basis of all. And the third nature, the perfect nature, the thoroughly established nature, it's thoroughly established because when we analyze deeply and we really get to the bottom of the question, how does that orange exist? What we see is that it doesn't exist separately from the mind that perceives it. So that non-duality of subject and object is the perfect nature, or the thoroughly established nature, and that is the ultimate truth of the orange. The ultimate truth is that while it appears to exist separately and independently from the subject, the mind perceiving it, in reality it doesn't. They're just two aspects of the same thing. The consciousness and the object appearing to it are just like two sides of a coin, not two separate things. So I think we probably have to leave the Chittamatrans there. Do you get the idea?
It's clearer than when I.
It's clearer than when we started. Well, then I'm happy. I'll rest content with that. I think we've done well. If it was less clear, I think that was, you know, par for the course. Really, if it's more clear, we're doing well.
I wouldn't say I cracked it. You know,
No.
I'm on the way.
Okay. So I apologise if it hasn't been. It hasn't. Well, I'll be honest. It hasn't been as clear as I would like it to have been. And I think that, you know, what's in the book is clearer. So please read carefully, and if necessary, read it more than once, or reread if you have already read the chapter on, at least on the Chittamatrans, before moving on to the next one. So there are 2 more chapters, and I'm going to ask you to read all of that before next time. We have 6 weeks, so it should be enough time.
To finish the book.
Yes. Yeah, I'd like that. I think we get more value from the weekend if you've done that work beforehand, and then we can, you know, we can start from that point rather than, you know, what's the point of just you know, regurgitating what's in the book. You know, if you have already read that. And there's just a thought that I had, and I'd like to know what everybody thinks. Do you think it would be a good idea, it would be helpful, would you like to have some kind of discussion forum online between the sessions? Would that be something that you'd like to have? And if so, I guess we could try and set it up.
Might be useful for people who haven't been able to come to class, if they could perhaps discuss things with them. We can't make it.
Yeah. I mean, do people think it would be useful generally?
So, yeah.
Would you want to, you know, you can post a question and people can respond and can discuss things?
Absolutely, yeah.
It would be nice.
It's good. I mean, hopefully be able to, if I suddenly go off on one and get completely stuck or the wrong way,
Yeah.
I hope you'll be there to say, "Oi, this is wrong."
Well, I don't promise to kind of be going on there every day, you know.
Yeah, no,
definitely not. I'm not going to.
How would it work? Like, you know, like we could get an alert or something to say someone posted a question. Would you be able to do it like that?
Well, that's what I'm wondering. I mean, I'm not an expert. Does anybody here know of a tool that we could use that would be the right sort of thing to do this?
No, but can I do I've come from, and I'm still doing the FBT correspondence course in Jamnang, London, and they have a discussion forum on there, obviously, because everybody's all over the place, everybody's disparate. It doesn't get used unless the teacher, unless the facilitator is bringing up topics and stuff like that and posting specific questions that people need to give categorical answers for. So and even then, sometimes people do. I've looked at it today. It is being used more now, but to start with, she kept on having to like cattle prod people to get people to use it. But now it has got continuity, but only when she posts specific things for people to share their thoughts on.
Yeah, some questions.
Sorry, I'm going to say my experience of forums is that they've got to be very well watched by someone, like just what you're saying there.
Yeah.
And they'll quickly fall off, which is exactly what you're saying, really, if you don't keep it going. And also people can end up putting on things which are contrary to what's actually is correct and can confuse people sometimes. So, because not everybody's bobbing on and off all of the time, somebody might not get the correct view of something. So it can end up being confusing sometimes for some people.
Yeah, I think we would have to sort of point out mistakes and things if we made them, which is quite likely.
Is it worth speaking to Jamnang London and asking them to borrow their their system, their all their questions and everything. So you can, like, you've got something to send out every week.
Do you mean?
That Geshe Tashi's obviously provided the facilitators.
Yeah, possibly. I mean, we might be able to use that forum itself, or use or to clone it.
They have it running.
Yeah.
They have it running regularly. And at the moment, they've just had the May intake. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So they've still got our system on, our 4 Noble Truths,
Yeah.
and the new 4 Noble Truths, and other stuff in the background. So it must be just a shell that they use for every new intake. So they must be able to use an intake for this group.
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay. So you can go on to those different groups and.
No, you can only go on your own. Your
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So you can. Ah. Okay. Well, perhaps we could ask them that.
Yeah. David, sorry, another point on that is set a particular question. If you know what I mean, for people to have a go at. So you can have different questions, obviously, but it's better if it's all under, we're answering this question here and we're answering another question somewhere else, otherwise it all gets confusing, you know, so.
That's how it's set up. The Geshe Tashi's posed all the questions that the facilitator puts in.
Ah, I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
And they're actually really
Right.
and they converse about
I'm going to have to say I'm not sure that I'm going to get it together to make this happen in time for this module. I'm not sure whether we'll want it for the next module. We might do, but we're certainly, you know, I think it will be good at least for the module 5 if we have something like that. But what I do want to say is, if people have questions and you want to, you know, you want to email me with a question, that's fine to do that. All right. Okay. Just wondering if some kind of more continuity was helpful, but it's not clear by the sound of
What
it.
we use a lot lately in healthcare is WhatsApp groups. So if someone's got a question,
Okay.
put it in there and all others. So we've got people all around the country or whatever, and it's not going off all the time, but it is. That's what we found. Really.
Oh yeah, maybe that was again a simple way of doing it.
Kerry uses Slack as well for the for this centre, which works similar sort of way. But WhatsApp seems good.
That's nice and simple, isn't it? And then people can opt in or not.
I find WhatsApp a bit too distracting if you get too many messages, but it depends really, because you get the badge there. So I don't know, I find it more personal, WhatsApp, but it's, I don't know. And you're not invited to write that much. I don't know, if I'm in the phone, I want to do it short.
So that might be good.
Yeah, well, depends on what
it has
question
really
it
worked
is.
well in
Yeah.
our work, because people walk on saying like, oh, I don't want my phone to be going off all the time, but I'm in lots of different groups for different things, and it don't go off all the time.
One problem I found with our work, because we use different layers of communication. We've got WhatsApp and we've got emails, and we've also used Facebook groups as well. But like all of the people at work have said about WhatsApp groups, because they go off on your phone at any time. If somebody works late into the night, 2 in the morning or something like that, as some people do, you know, doing some of this stuff, and they send something in, and that's going to go off on people's phones at that time of night. And also, because it's a scrolling thing, and text, it just goes in time, it's a real-time conversation. If somebody said something a week ago, you've got to go scrolling through all those messages.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Whereas if it's an email, it's very specific. You can file it away in a place to go back to if you want to. You can flag it up. It doesn't wake you up in the middle of the night. It's, you know what I mean, and it's not a running. It doesn't have to be a running conversation. So it's just, I don't know, with stuff. This is going to be quite text heavy. This kind of conversation, I think.
Sure.
Yeah, true,
The other thing is, it doesn't have to be all about you organising it. You could set people to set a question, or get people to.
I would prefer not to organise it. Absolutely. I mean, I'm off. You know, if you want it, you know, if people think it, there seems to be, yeah.
Could be engaging. It's just maybe the format and the platform that something to discuss or to.
Well, everybody's got everybody's email address now, right? Because I've been emailing everybody together. So can I just leave it? If anyone wants to pursue that, you can use the the emails list to do that. Is that okay? because I don't think we're going to get to a conclusion here and now. So if you want to continue that conversation, and
in the meantime, would the centre here consider approaching Jamyang and London to see if you can use their facilities? Because literally, for them, it must be the flick of the switch to be able to set you up with what they've already got.
I think, yeah, maybe that is the best idea, Danny. Should we have a go at that, Fiona?
Yes, but then who would monitor it if we set up some kind of forum? I mean, isn't that going back to the...
Oh, well...
I mean, it's just a question of asking them and they're flicking the switch, but I mean, who's going to then...
Right, well, literally, the only point... I don't... As far as the group that I'm in goes now, there's a facilitator that's done the course, which would be pretty much David, as far as I'm aware, because I don't think anybody else here has done the course before if they follow.
But I think
there are some people who've done it, actually.
Oh, okay.
Well, yes, so
not here
if
today.
somebody was interested in facilitating something like that, then yes, we can certainly, you know, ask Jamyang London. But I think it does need someone who's interested in...
Well, all I would say is, you know, if that's what people all think is the best thing, and you really want me to facilitate it, yes, I'm willing to do it. It's just, it's going to be a case of I will pose the questions and I will have a look at the answers and respond.
From what I've seen, the facilitator's effort isn't that much on that. Literally, it's a copy and paste question, quick look through the answers, and just it's three lines per answer kind of thing. Okay. Right. Okay. Yeah. Well, we can let's follow up on that. Fiona can approach them and ask them if it's okay for them to set up. So they have a group for each successive intake of FBT. And they could do one for this group then. They do it regularly.
So. Okay.
Can I ask a quick question?
Very quick.
Very quick. What are the other two mental consciousnesses for the Chittamatra?
One more, yeah. So there's eight altogether. There are three mental consciousnesses.
Yep.
The ordinary mental consciousness, the mind basis of all, and the afflictive mental consciousness, which is the self-grasping mind. So Buddhas don't have that. We have that. Okay? All right. So, dedication. So I don't know about you, I feel my mind quite scattered now. So let's take a minute or two to collect, center the mind. Sometimes thinking about, discussing, reflecting on these topics can create quite a bit of confusion in the mind. But hopefully, through the work we've done this weekend, we have moved closer to the goal. To see reality as it is. Transform our mind into wisdom. Able to penetrate beneath the misapprehension that produces suffering. in that case, our time has been spent in a very worthwhile way. So let's rejoice. To have spent our weekend creating causes for enlightenment for ourselves, creating the cause to be able to free others from suffering. And dedicate that positive karmic potential to that result. May I, through having done these virtuous activities, be able to progress quickly without any obstacles along the path to full enlightenment and to bring benefit to all suffering beings. So can we recite there? Praise to 21 Taras, page 28. Om Jai Tsun Ma Pak Ma Jul Ma La Chak Sal Ho Chak Sal Jul Ma Nyo Ma Pam Ho Chan Ni Ke Chig Lok Dang Drama Jik Ten Sum Gun Chuk Ke Shal Gi Ke Sa Je Wa Le Ni Jung Ma Chak Sal Ten Ke Da Wa Kun Tu Gang Wa Ga Ni Tek Pe Jel Ma Kama Tong Trak Chok Pa Nam Ki Rab Tu Che We Rabba Ma Chak Sal Seng O Chun E Ke Ki Pe Me Chak Ni Nam Pa Gen Ma Jin Pa Tsun Ru Ka Tum Ji Wa Zu Pa Sam Ten Che Yo Ni Ma Chak Sal De Jin Shek Pe Tuk To Ta Ye Nam Pa Gel Wa Che Ma Ma Lu Pa Ru Jin Pa To Pe Gel We Se Ki Shin Tu Ten Ma Chak Sal Tu Ta Ra Hong Yi Ge De Dang Chok Dang Nam Ka Gang Ma Jik Ten Dum Po Jab Ki Nen Te Lu Pa Me Pa Gu Pa Nu Ma Chak Sal Gya Jin Me La Tang Pa Lung Na Na Chok Wang Chuk Che Ma Chung Po Ro Lang Tri Sa Nam Dang Ne Jin Sok Ki Dun Ne Te Ma Chak Sal Tre Che Ja Dang Pe Ki Pa Rul Trul Ko Rab Tu Jom Ma Ye Kum Yen Kam Jab Ki Nen Te Me Ba Chuk Pa Shin Tu Ba Ma Chak Sel Tu Re Jik Pa Chen Po Du Ki Pa Wo Nam Pa Jom Ma Chuk Ye Shel Ni Tron Ye Den Ze Dra Wo Tam Che Ma Lu Se Ma Chak Sel Kun Chok Sum Tsun Cha Ge So Mo Tuk Ka Nam Pa Gen Ma Ma Lu Chok Ki Ko Lo Gen Pe Rangi Ye Ki Chok Nam Truk Pa Chak Sel Rab Tu Ga Wa Ji Pe Wu Gen Ye Ki Treng Wa Pel Ma Je Pa Rab Ja Tu Ta Ra Yi Du Dang Jik Ten Wang Tu Ze Ma Chak Sal Sa Ji Kyung We Tok Nam Tam Che Guk Pa Nu Man Yi Ma Tron Ye Yu We Yi Ge Hong Yi Pong Pa Tam Che Nam Pa Jel Ma Chak Sal Da We Dum Bu U Gen Gen Pa Tam Che Nau Shin Tu Ba Ma Rel Pe Ku Na E Pak Me Le Ta Pa Shin Tu Rab Ze Ma Chak Sal Kel Pe Ta Me Me Ta Ba We Treng We U Na Ne Ma Yi Kang Yun Kum Kun Ne Ko Ge Dra Yi Bung Ni Nam Pa Jom Ma Chak Sel Sa Ji Nge La Chak Ki Til Gi Nun Ching Jab Ki Nau Dung Ma Tron Ye Jen Ze Yi Ge Hong Gi Rim Pa Dun Po Nam Ni Gem Ma Chak Sel De Ma Ge Ma Ji Ma Nyang En De Ji Che Yul Ni Ma So Ha Om Dang Yang Dak Den Pe Jik Pa Chen Po Chom Pa Ni Ma Chak Sel Kun Ne Ko Rab Ga We Dra Yi Lu Ni Nam Pa Gem Ma I Ge Chu Peng Agni Ke Pe Rik Pa Hong Le Drol Ma Ni Ma Chak Sel Tu Re Shab Ni De Pa Unginam pe sabanima, rirab mandara dang big j, jigten sumnam yowanima, chaktalai choyinam pe, ridak tak chen cham nanama, tarani jepe ki ke, dugnam alipani selma, chaktalai chognam gelpo, ladang miam chitanma, kuneko chagawe jigi, tedang milam ngen paselma, Tahilnima dawa gepe, chenyi pola uram selma, harani jetutarai, shintu drag perimne selma, chaktel deni sumnam kepe, jiwe tu dang yang dak denma, dundag rolang ne jinsognam, trompature rap chognima, tawe nakita padida, chaktel wani ni shutsachi. Long Life Prayers, 34. Tuk tu chang jing jam gen gelwe, tan zin kyo palwe kun ze dog po ze, chok sum korwe legmen tu drup, padak sok du jagan du jab ten chok. Gangri rawe korwe jinkam dear, pendang dewa malu jungwe ne, genre zi wang tenzin gatso yi, jape si te badu tengyo chi. Apologies, I forgot the dedication verses. So 22. Dang chum sem chug rinpoche, ma ke panam ke gyochi, ke wanyam pa me pa yan, gong ne gong du pel wa shong. Ke wa di nyo du dak, lama sangye du gyurne, drolwa chi kyang ma lu pa, de yi sa la ge pa zhong. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mel.
All the maggots are going to go to the orange today.
The orange, yeah.